minutes, and your time starts now.
Okay, thank you. All right, now because this colt just got turned loose, I'm maybe going to leave him alone for just a second just to sniff around. I know I'm not going to be the center of his whole world at this exact moment in time, but I'll just give him a second here. Realize nothing too exciting is happening. And then I would, if possible, like to slide the halter on without running him around. Now I can move him around the pen a little bit. I'm going to maybe try to give him the impression that he's following me just a little bit. That's obviously not what's happening, but... And that's how I taught him to lead. I would like to pass him if possible.
You had his full attention right up until then.
Yeah, I had it and lost it. Okay. Here it comes. And if I can't get him, it's not the end of the world, I will move him around. Actually, I think maybe I will anyways, because this way here, at least he sees the whole thing. And again, I'm not going to try to run him around a lot if possible. I can if he really doesn't want to be caught. Maybe ask him to change directions here. And kind of get it where he's actually paying a little bit of attention to me. These colt starting challenges are really tricky because on the one hand, a tired horse is a quieter horse, that's just a given. At the same time, you have to do so much stuff that you get them too tired right off the bat, you have no horse at the end of the thing. And so I'm just going to try to, again, become a little more important to this horse than what I currently am. Get him maybe where he's watching me just a shade. Again, this is where it's just a little tricky because I would prefer not to do it around myself if possible. Again, I should really be talking here, but at the same time, it's hard to talk and actually read this colt very well at the same time.
His actual registered name is RHR Solano's Checks, and he's got some interesting cow horse blood. Goes back to Solano's Pappy San on the bottom side, and then his great-grandmother goes back to Peppy Sand Badger, and that's the bloodlines of many of the colts that the Douglas Lake Ranch brought here in the Trainers Challenge. So he is related to some of the Douglas Lake colts.
Douglas Lake, they own Peppy Sand, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah, Matlock Rose rode them for them for a while, I believe.
Matlock Rose, Dave Batty, and even Chunky Woodward showed them. Peppy Sand and Stardust Desire, two legendary cutting horses from Douglas Lake.
Is she the mom of Pepinita?
Peppy Sand, Pepinita? Maybe one of the judges might know. I think probably.
Again, I'd just like to move this horse around. Actually, that's a lie. I don't want to move him around, but of these options that he's given me, this is the best option. So if you watch this horse, he's looking outside of the round pen the entire time. He's not really doing a whole lot to look at me. Now, normally I could get the hook on fairly quick in a typical round pen setting, but I think there's just enough new stuff here right now that this colt is not all that interested in me. And he's just busy looking around. See if I would like to see him turn in just a little bit and start focusing a 10 on me. And then see if we can't get something going from there. Again, you kind of watch, he's looking to the outside. I would like to draw him just a tad. Here it goes. At least he did come out towards me a little bit. That's definitely not what I was really wanting, but actually, this fella here, considering that he would prefer to run around to that, I think we will make more of, no, you don't change directions on your own. I think I will make more of a point of working him around a little bit longer than average. I might start turning him back and forth just a little bit more. So before I just move him around, where now I'm going to start changing it up just a tad more. That place at the gate, on the one hand, it's a nice place to catch them because that's where they want to stop anyways. On the other hand, it's a bad spot because he's turning and looking out of the gate. And right there, I maybe could have drawn him in just a little bit, but I'm going to maybe turn him 2-3 times each way. And we'll just truck along here. I really would prefer not to get into the roping end of things, because if you've ever heard any snide remarks about people from the East and the roping ability, let me tell you, they are all true.
We watched Jason rope in the finals in Red Deer. Actually surprised us all.
Well, he surprised me too. That was sort of my point.
Yeah, heck of a catch.
Out of that stuff. Now, roping is definitely not my forte, so I would like to get him, again, I would like to just look a little bit at me and give me a place to start here. Okay, settle. No. Every time I try to draw him out, he just turns all the way and then heads on away from me. So I might not be able to really draw him, but maybe I can get up a little closer to him. Now I'm trying to catch his attention. Okay, without chasing him off, because he, well, sometimes if you move your hand in a bit of a circle motion, helps a little bit. First little part, or maybe got something to go with him. I don't want to get myself caught in the corner too bad either though. Just time my moments. Okay, I'm glad that part's over. Now, because this colt really sort of shows that he doesn't really think of me as the most interesting thing in the world just yet, what I'm going to start doing is try to get his attention on me fairly quick. And what I'm going to do that is do the opposite of every single thing he's going to try to do. So you're going to see me move around the pen a lot, and every time that colt goes one direction, I'm going to go the opposite way. So I want that colt following me. Why couldn't you do this earlier? Now he's making me look even more. He's following me when I didn't want him to follow me, and he wouldn't come to me when I wanted to.
He's just testing you a little bit.
I think that must be it. So again, I'll just move around a little bit here. I'm going to go backwards. That backwards motion draws him in. I tried to draw him in a little bit on the sides. It didn't work all that well, but I think he'll figure this out pretty darn quick for me. So again, I'm just going to go around. Every time I see him look one direction, like right there, he looked to his left, so I went to his right. And I want him thinking that he can't take his eyes off me at any point, because I want him thinking I'm just a little bit elusive and I'm going to sneak away any second.
Just to let our visitors know, our archery demonstration in pure form aiming will be starting pretty early in the next few minutes. They're here, they're warmed up. So if you'd like to see it, please come on over now. Pure form aiming for the archery demonstration.
Now I'm going to start getting him, hopefully, to lunge just a little bit around me. I'm going to draw him in, and then I'm just going to keep sending him, like so. And I'm going to draw him in, and every once in a while, I'm going to stop and pet on him to show him that by coming to me, that was actually all he really needed to do. If he hooked onto me really strong, I would let him relax and I would pet him. So again, I'm just going to draw him in again here, and then send him around. Now instead of making him go around 2, 3, 4 circles right off the bat, I'll maybe go half a circle in the beginning and then a full circle there. And we'll get him where he can lunge, hopefully without being too stressed about it. So I don't have a stick in my hand. If he was really sticky and wouldn't move his feet, I could also do that. I could tap him with something, but this horse has enough go that it might not be necessary at this point. Now he's going around pretty decent there. What I might start doing is yielding this horse's haunches away from me. So I'm going to twirl the rope, walk towards his butt, and give his head a little pull at the same time. Then you see his hip swing away. Now in theory, I'm doing that by putting pressure on his hind end. In reality, it's because I pulled the lead rope, but before very long, he'll start to figure this out. So I just send him around, like so, yield the hind end, like so. The butt swings away and I pet on the horse. Because when the hind end swings away, it gives me some degree of power. Not power, but a control. Now when I saddle this colt for the first time, being able to yield the hind quarters away sometimes is what keeps you from getting into a bucking wreck. At the same time though, you gotta be careful they don't swing their butt away and then jump on top of you. So there's a little bit of a double-edged sword there, so you have to keep it in mind. So again, I'm gonna draw him to me, now I'm gonna start trying to send him around this way. So that's pretty decent. Pull to me. Send him around. I'm going to try yield the hindquarters, like so, and pet on him again. So you'll just see me do this for maybe another minute or two. I do want this horse to lunge somewhat good. He doesn't have to do it perfectly, but when I saddle him up for the first time, I do prefer to keep the lead rope on them, just because if they run and jump into the fence or something like that, one could get hurt. So by having the lead rope on, I think it keeps the horse just a little bit safer, but he has to have some understanding of control for this to actually do any good. So now to get him used to the cinch, I'm going to run this down here. I'm going to rub his belly. I don't want to just reach under it and get kicked. So I'm going to run, grab right here, and I'm going to move this around just a little bit. I'll stop and pet him every few seconds, rub a little more. Put just a little extra pressure on. If he doesn't move, I'll release that pressure and pet him. Rub it back and forth, maybe move back a little further into the area where the back cinch would go. A little pressure. You see him tighten up, but then let go. A little pressure, tighten up, let go. Now if he starts to walk like that, that's fine. But if possible, I'm going to keep the tension on there when he's moving. I don't want him to think that moving away is the way to get away from this. Okay? So you'll see me maybe play around here for a minute or so, getting him used to this. Tension and then let go. Tension, let go, play around. Another thing you can do, get one used to lariat pretty soon, but just start spinning the rope a little bit. Now if I went out here and just started twirling, some will get used to it and others will get scared. But if you go around, do 1, wait, 1, 2, wait, 1, 2, 3. Can't count, that was actually 2. 1, 1, 2. And keep just in front of him and just off to the sides. If he spooks, I don't get run over. I want him to see this out of both eyes. If he moves around like that, this is where I would yield those hindquarters just a little bit. Keep spinning until he stops. Now I'm going to rotate back and forth here just a little. That's pretty decent. That's pretty decent. I'm working both eyes, both eyes, but one at a time. Now once he's okay with that, I'll do it from the front. Now he's seeing this lead rope out of both at the same time. So that's pretty decent. He's doing very well with this part. That's pretty good. Now I'm going to do it back here as if I was spinning a rope. Like I mentioned, I am a terrible, terrible roper, so I use Australian stock whips. That way there, I get them used to spinning something over their heads. So that's pretty decent. And that's pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that part. Now what I'm going to do, you'll see me quite a bit. I'll work on something for a minute, 2 minutes, then I leave it. I do some other stuff, then I come back to it. And the reason for that is I find sometimes when you drill too long on one thing, the horse starts to get it, and then they get a little flustered, and then they quit on you. So, or they start to act up a little bit. So what I'm going to do instead is work on until it's going good, quit, do something else, and then come back to it several times. So again, work on the lunging just a little bit here. Feel the hindquarters. Again, pretty good. Go back to this. Make sure he's paying attention. Spin it maybe just a little bit faster. That's pretty decent. Something else I'm going to do is start getting them ready to bridle. How I do that is without the bridle. I just take the rope, put it up on their nose, start rubbing them a little bit, take it away, put it on their nose, start rubbing them a little bit, and bring it back and slide it over their ears. So that way there, what happens a lot of times when you go to put the bridle on, you pull it up, colt flings its head, bit bangs in the teeth, and then they start getting a little bit rattled. This way here, if they throw their head up in the air, absolutely nothing goes wrong. So I'll just repeat this a few times. Rub it up the face, over the ears, down like so. Face, ears, so. Got caught, doesn't matter. Something else I'll do is rub them a little bit on the nose. They don't like this a lot, so I don't spend a lot of time on it, but I do get where you can touch the nose. Over time, they'll get better and better, but I don't want to go to the point of annoying them. So again, that's pretty decent. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to slide the corner of this finger into his mouth. He opens his mouth, I take my hand away. So I want this colt, as soon as I slide the finger in, he opens immediately. Then I take my finger away. And after a few times like this, when I go to put the bridle on, in theory, it should go pretty easy. So there we go. Now something I am going to do, sometimes I start them in a loping hackamore and sometimes I start them in a snaffle bit. What I'm going to do is hang the snaffle bit on him right now. If I think he's a horse that's going to get used to it in a relatively short period of time, I'll stay with the snaffle. If I think he's going to have a lot of trouble with it, I'll maybe switch to the hackamore. The snaffle I have a little more control. The hackamore is sometimes just a little bit easier for them to accept and understand. So that'll be a bit of a judgment call as we go along. So what I'm going to do here is take the snaffle and I'm going to loosen it up quite a bit. I want it a little too big, and that way it's easier to get on. I'm going to sort of start the same way as I did without the snaffle. I'm going to rub up their face. Here. If they lift their head a little bit at this stage, it really does not matter. There we go. And I'll maybe do this up maybe one notch snugger than where I would typically have it. That just lets them take a little bit better hold of it. They're not as likely to get their tongue over the bit, although they probably will anyways when it comes right down to it. So just keep messing around. If he wants to chew on that, that's perfectly fine. What I'm going to work on now is desensitizing. So I'm going to start getting him used to things in preparation for the saddle. But this way here, he's also learning to accept that bit at the same time. Now a little trick here, when you go to introduce something scarier to your horse, something I'd like you to keep in mind. Horses are scared of things that chase them. Now that seems like a given. But if you go up to a horse and say, here's something scary, chances are they're going to get a little bit upset about it. However, if you have the scary thing, in this case this tarp, moving away from the horse, all of a sudden this horse doesn't have something to be scared of, this horse has something to be interested in. Because if it was scary, it would not be running away from the horse. The way the horse looks at this is, this tarp is running away. And something that's running off is not not dangerous.
Amazing how that concept can really save you from a wreck. I had a fairly fresh mare, hadn't been ridden all winter, and I had her out on the road in the springtime, and I'm heading down this hill, and I hear an empty logging truck with all the rigging coming up the hill towards us. And I wasn't sure how she was going to handle that. So I got off to one side, and my neighbor driving the logging truck, Vincent Piva, wants to stop and visit. So anyway, she's kind of dancing and prancing. I said, Vincent, just drive away. And so he started driving away, and I put her in behind the logging truck. And it was only a matter of seconds before she realized that we were chasing that logging truck, and all the fear melted away.
It's a really slick
That
trick.
same principle right there.
Well, it seems so obvious. Not obvious, but it's so easy when you're using it, I guess is what I should say. We do the same thing at home. A lot of times if Dad is running a hay vine or a tedder or baler or something like that, I'll follow it around on a colt. So I'll ride the colt at quite a distance away from it.
Yeah.
And then I move a little closer, then a little closer, then after a while I'm beside it, then after a while I'm in front of it.
Yeah, it works the same with a motorbike or a quad or anything that you want to get them used to.
Yeah, for sure. So with this here now, after they supposedly chase this thing around a little bit, as you can see I did it on the other side, I'll bring the tarp up, just touch them, and then take it away. I'll reach out, touch for just a second longer, take it away. And then you can just gradually increase the amount of touching you're doing. Touch. Now I'm going to go a little farther this time, but I'm going to try to leave before that horse leaves. Now it did kind of leave there just at the last second, but I don't think that's too big a deal. So rub just a little bit more, take it away. Now I'm going to go on this side. I would like to expand this tarp out just a little bit, if I can. I'm going to rub. Put the tarp over the back. If it spooks like that, I'll just keep it there. Do a little something, but then look for a pretty quick opportunity to get it out. So as you can see, this horse is touchier about farther back than it is up close. So I'm going to rub for a second. When this horse stops walking, that's the moment I'm going to take this away. Now, you always have to use common sense. Like if this horse takes off 100 miles an hour, I'm sure going to take it away anyways. So right there, it started to stop, so I took it away. And what I'm trying to do here is teach that horse this way to get away from scary things is to stand still. Away again.
A couple of things happening at once at the same time as there's a little desensitization to the tarp. She is really forgetting to be worried about that snaffle by adding a little comfort in chewing on it. Maybe.
That's actually one of the things. And actually, it sounds odd, but I find they're actually less stressed when they're carrying the snaffle because it gives them something else to think about. And when they're licking and chewing, their jaw is not clenched. When they're uptight and their jaw is clenched down, I think you're more likely to have trouble. When they're chewing and playing around with that, it's sort of like a kid with a soother. Just gives them something else to think about, a little bit distracting. So again, this horse does not love this tarp back here, but I've done it a few times now, so now I'm going to ask this one to tolerate this just a little bit longer. So that's not too bad. Do it again. So that's pretty decent there. Take it away. Let it go down a little further this time. Now this time I'm going to let this horse move around a tad, but if it goes to jump or spook really bad, I can pull this tarp off. That's good. Do this from both sides. That's good. Every so often, I'll just stop and pat, sort of reassure that horse that nothing too scandalous is going on right here. Stop again. You can also move it around just a little bit. Not a lot. You're not trying to scare them. You're just trying to get them used to it a little bit at a time. Stop and pet. A little bit more. Stop and pet. Do it on this side. Oh, get upset. I want them looking at me. I don't want them looking away because I don't want them to spook away and spook on top of me by accident. I don't think for a second this colt's going to try and hurt me on purpose. But it's like somebody said one time, whether they meant to or not, it hurts just as much. So I'll just kind of move this around a little, wait for a spot. Now I help that horse stop a little bit, but I think you can see that this one's figuring this out. Now I'm going to lead him now, but I'm going to stay out a little bit in front. A little to the side, I should say. So I think that's pretty decent right there. So again, I'm going to get away from desensitizing for just a second. I don't want this horse to think that every time I'm around I'm doing something scary. So I'm going to go over something we've already started.
About 20 minutes left, Jason, 20 minutes left here.
All right.
Interesting, at the very first Trainers Challenge here in Chilliwack, one of the trainers had the same last name as Jason. That was Chris Irwin. Are you, by any chance, do you know Chris, or are you related to Chris Irwin?
No, I don't. I've been asked that a lot of times. And we've never met. And so, this with the pad here, I'm just going to throw the pad up a little bit more elaborately. So I'm going to go like this and drop it down, because this, in theory, will get them ready more for my saddle, because my saddle weighs 50 pounds, and when I drop it down, I'm going to do it as light as possible, but still, there's going to be a little bit of a bump there. And I'll also pad it, getting it used to pressure on the pad. Take it away, put it back on, tap around, hopefully good to go. Just going to draw them up to the saddle. Wants to move a little bit, I'm just going to hold the saddle. Or stops. I'm just going to take everything away. Size up again. Now I'm hoping the cinch is long enough. Excuse me, short enough. I'd love to be telling you a story right now, but it's a little hard.
Well, we were sort of calculating the odds on whether Severin's colt was going to buck when he first felt the pull of the cinch on the saddle, and I was thinking probably less than 50%, but with this one, I put it a little higher than that.
What odds are you giving me?
I'd say maybe 70% that he's going to.
70?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's varying theories on how you handle that. Some trainers will say, no, just let him go and work through it and get it out of the system. And others, very good ones, will say, no, let's try and cut that off if we possibly can.
What I'm going to do here, in an attempt to cut it off. Now, if this horse really wants to buck, it's not the end of the world. But if I keep this colt's head up, in theory, it's not going to buck. Now, if it really jumps forward, it could throw its head down and do something. But what I'm going to do is keep the head high, and every time it does a lap or two, I'm going to tighten that cinch just a little bit more. So every trip around. Now this time I tighten the back one a notch as well. And my theory for that is, if he is going to buck, I'd sure rather he did that when I wasn't sitting on him. So I'm going to intentionally do the back cinch up one tighter than what I would really want to do when I'm riding. And that way there, if that colt was going to buck, it would hopefully do it then and not wait till I got on. So now I've gone one way. Now the story might change when you change directions. Okay, disengage those hindquarters a little bit and then send them out. A little bit, send them out.
The longer this goes on, the better for the colt.
Definitely. Now, I'm going to switch here. Snap this long line on.
15 minutes left now, Jason. 50.
Okay. I want this colt to trot.
Wow.
Now instead of just trotting until he gets upset, I'm going to yield his hindquarters just a little bit there and then send him out again. Going to go along until I see him doing pretty decent. Then I'm going to pull him around and then send him off again. Now if he wants to step into a lope, he can. If he was to start bucking, there isn't a heck of a lot I can do about it. I would try to stop it a little bit if possible. Well, that was 2 canter strides.
Oh, that's pretty darn
Again,
good.
I'm not going to let this one. Nope. I would say that's not that bad.
Man. I'm going to revise those odds a little bit.
I will take the bet now. I have $1,000. All right.
Look at that. Crossover front and hind.
There's the trot. And again, sometimes we'll go around pretty decent on one side and then let loose on the other. All right, now I'm going to yield the hindquarters just a little bit. That's not a true hindquarter yield, but at this stage it really doesn't matter. Nope.
Now, if he was going to buck, he would have right there when he caught his front foot a little bit.
All right. So I think that's going not too shabby. Guess you are allowed to clap. And something else I will do sometimes before I get on one is throw this rope over their butt just a little bit. And the reason for this is it gets them used to a lariat if it touches them on their backside later on, but it's also a way of ironing out the kinks. If they want a buck, again, I would rather them do it now. So I'm going to send this colt around, putting very little pressure on this, but then I'm going to gradually increase the pressure now. I worked on getting him to come to me. I don't want him to come to me and jump on me, but so right there, that will set off a lot of young horses. So he's going along doing pretty decent. Then I'll release, pressure, release, pressure, release. And I'm not going to spend a long time on that because again, he did pretty decent. So I'd say that's all right. Okay. So how long do I have?
We have 11 minutes.
11? Maybe what I'll do here, I'm just going to start to get this colt to steer a little bit. I'm going to snap that snaffle, the ring to the snaffle bit, and I'm just going to pull this colt around a little bit. When he gives, I'll let go. Gave to me, let go. Gave to me, let go. Gave to me, let go. Nice. Got him a little bit for it. I'm going to switch sides. Pull a little bit, let go. Pull a little bit, let go. Pull a little bit, let go. Now those were pretty small amounts of pressure, but this horse gave very well, so he didn't need a lot of pressure. Now I'm going to snap it on the curb strap. I'm going to put a little pressure on the reins, well, the lead rope there. Horse backed up one step, I let go and pet. Little pressure. Horse steps back, I let go. Little pressure, colt steps back. And that's really how you teach one to back up. You don't ask them to back up a lot, you just get them to take a step back. Sometimes even if they just lean backwards, that's good enough. And then, but you have to be happy with not a whole lot. That's going to do it again. Pressure, colt gives to the pressure, let go. Pressure, colt gave, let go. Colt gave, let go. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now, I'm just going to switch this lead rope here to this set of reins. I'm just going to snap those on, get rid of this. Now he's pulling against me, so I just maintain that pressure till he gives to me, and then I let go again. I'm going to do the same thing to simulate backing, but I'm going to do it from back here now. I'm going to put a little pressure on both reins, and then wait till he stops playing there. Stop. He's a little bit of a funk, so I'll just walk out of it. I don't want to create a fight where there doesn't need to be one. And then I'm going to put a little pressure on these reins. Oh, go ahead and do the stuff now. There. Took a step backwards. I let go. Step backwards, I let go. Step backwards, I let go. Now I'm going to start preparing him to mount. I'm just going to hop around here a little bit. Going to move the saddle, play with the cinches, jump up and down just a little bit. I'm going to put my knee in the stirrup and then lift my weight up just a little bit. Same thing on this side. Just going to jump up and down a little. Move my saddle around, jump up and down. He fights that, I just hold till he gives to the pressure. There. I'm just going to let him walk out of that. Well done. Now I'm just going to wait for him to stop because I'm sure not getting off if he's moving. Now I'm going to pet here and I'm going to keep petting. I can stick with this, so I'm just going to pet. And then I'm going to step off when he's good. So when he stops, that's when I'm getting up. Yeah. You can clap very quietly.
Just clap with one hand.
Pretend I'm an English rider. Clap how they would. Pretend this is an FEI response. Now this colt here, I think, is one of these ones that he'll just have his moments. So I don't think every little thing, and I do consider this moving around a little thing. Oh, lost her. If I don't get on, it's not the end of the world. So he's just getting a little flustered, so I'm just going to walk out of it. So we'll just move around here. Sometimes if they get into a little bit of a funk, they turn their brain off, and the best thing you can do is just leave. They'll sort of refresh, regroup, gather themselves. Little tip here, when you go to get on, have the foot closer to you, farther forward. That helps them hold their weight up better as you get on. If they're about equal, that would work too, but...
Got about 5 minutes left, Jason. 5 minutes.
Again, I'm just going to step away.
Man, don't you just love watching this whole process? Man, oh man. Okay, release the pigeons.
The cold is rolling, I'm going home. Thank you all. All right, we're done. Now I'm just going to rub here a little bit. Now, I'm a little short on time, so I might not get a heck of a lot done here. I would like if we could walk around a little bit. Sometimes they'll get stuck and kind of go in circles. Kicking with your legs doesn't do much at this point because they don't understand it. Sometimes you can put just a light bump like that on them. Sometimes that'll help. More often than not, the noise will do more for them.
Look at this. Forward motion with 3.5 minutes left.
So I'm just going to truck around here. Sometimes if they get stuck walking in a circle, if you reach back and just touch them slightly on the hind end, they'll walk out of it. It just pushes them forward that little bit that they need. I'm just going to keep on moving around. I'm going to pet him. I'm going to make a point of not sitting still. Most people get on a young horse and right away they clench and lock down. And that's hard not to do. It's easy to say don't do that. In principle, it's another thing. However, the more relaxed you can be up here, the easier it is on that horse because then they're not as stressed. So I'm just going to keep myself fairly loose. Walk around. How much time do I have there here?
2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay. So on the next time that he stops, what I'm going to do is head on him, step off, and pull this gear out. So there we go. I'm going to pet. Then I'm going to grab this halter. I'm going to step off. Again, I'm not going to fight with them. I'm just going to walk out of there. Grab this one. I'm going to take this bridle off. Wait for him to open his mouth. Do not pull it off. There we go. The saddle, I'll undo it. I'm not going to be sloppy or rude about it, but at the same time I'm not going to be too careful either because he needs to learn how to carry this, be saddled and unsaddled without it being a traumatic thing. A lot of times if you act like something isn't a big deal, lo and behold it isn't a big deal. So if I had 3 or 4 more minutes, I think I would have tried to get this colt trotting, possibly cantering, but he was doing really well for me and I didn't want to get into a spot where I kept saying go, 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 and then had a blow up at the end, because I want to end it on. What's that?
For the riders in the Extreme Cowboy Challenge competition, there is a rider meeting.
1 minute to go, Evan. 1 minute.
Okay. All I'm going to do is here slowly sensitize him. This horse is already good to this. I'm just going to make it a little bit better. It's a heck of a lot easier to get a horse used to someone just a little bit tired. When you go out and they're fresh and they're hot and they're jumping around, it's pretty hard to get them calm and accepting of something that's scary. Wait till they're a little bit tired, and it's surprising how much they don't care about much of anything. So it's a real good principle. Incorporate the scary stuff when your horse doesn't want to be scared. So again, I'm just going to end off exactly where I started. I'm just going to draw this horse into me a little bit more. I'm not going to do as much moving around. I'm just going to pet on him when he gets to me. I want him ending this thinking, that was different, and that was new, but it really wasn't too bad. And at the end of it, him and I are friends. There's no bad feelings. I didn't scare him unnecessarily. I didn't go out of my way to make things hard. And he gave me a pretty honest try.
And there's your 45 minutes, Jason Irwin. How did you like that demonstration?
Thanks very much.
All right, and we have 15 minutes, and then Evan Bonner will be in here. This is just really so much fun. See you back here at 15.